game to swing the game back in your favor. It's definitely not what they should be looking for as they go further into the tournament, because teams will not be giving them that opportunity to do so. We kind of talked about Group A being a little bit on the weaker side, looking at that bracket or that group heading into the tournament, and I think they benefited from some of the teams not being able to close out games cleanly.
Yeah, well, it's a risky strategy, Cotton. We'll see whether it pays off for them. As Smeb now looking at the first pick, we've got Rek'Sai, Poppy, and Syndra banned away from EDG on the side of Rox. And Elise, Nidalee, and Jin were taken away by the #1 seed from China. And that's going to be the first pick. Caitlyn followed up by quite a few options here from EDG.
Yeah, basically the Caitlyn will free up whatever you want on the rest of the map because it's a winning lane. No matter what you really pick against it, there's a lot of range support still left up, so you expect the Caitlyn lane to be a dominant lane. And that means you can pick a losing top laner that scales, you can pick a mid laner that scales, get even like a Vladimir in there or something, and know that you still have a pressure point on the map.
Right, I think it's a good idea to attack Deft, basically, is what this is doing, because he was kind of the shining star for them a lot of the times. He had by far like the highest damage contribution per gold share. There was a stat about that, and the fact that Deft is so important to EDG, being able to get the pressure away from him with the Caitlyn pick is pretty important, and there's a lot of stuff still up.
Oh my goodness, and once again the Zyra is going to be locked away with the Lee Sin there for Peanut. I love the Poppy ban with how incredibly detrimental she is to being Lee Sin just in general, so making sure they lock that one away safely.
Well, she's also a crutch for top laners that, you know, just have to survive and like make plays, right?
We were talking about KORO1 being a tank, and the ideal pick for him
his
probably would have been...
still up, mate. It's fine. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sure his Gnar will crush Smeb.
Well, that's the thing, right? And it was, what, only 18 months ago that we last saw it, and he only lost one game in that season. I'll have you know, MarkZ.
Yep. But, so... despite like whatever he gets in the top lane, maybe it's the Gnar, but they are saving last pick for him is what it looks like here. Seeing that the bottom lane is completely revealed and that you already picked the Ryze as a priority pick, EDG will try to set Kuro up with some type of pick to counter. But Rox's bottom lane is just absolutely devastating. This is probably the strongest bottom lane right now, in my opinion. Maybe Karma can be subbed in for the Zyra, but Zyra has just been something that all three Korean teams have brought out, and they've actually been seeing a lot of success with it.
Right, and EDG's bot lane is basically going to try and just hang on to the lane phase, be queuing from far away with both Karma and Ezreal, and I don't think they can realistically hope to trade without, you know, a gank really coming in. And this is what I was surprised to see, the Aurelion Sol being left open.
And the Jayce at the same time. We saw Jayce being such a huge impact champion yesterday.
Right, and I mean, if you're looking to bully top lane because you think KORO1 might be a point of weakness, banning that Poppy, taking that Jayce away, gives them a lot of bully potential. And with the Aurelion Sol, they can coordinate roams up to that side of the map or the bot side because they have so much pressure. I'm really liking Rox's draft so far.
Yeah, I really like it as well. It has enough disengages to make sure that you can fall into a poke siege pattern with this composition once you group up as 5. But that Aurelion Sol is something that hasn't been banned out too much, and it's quite surprising. But right now, it's kind of, does the guy play it? Does he play it well? Because it takes about 20+ games to actually understand how to play that character correctly.
Right. I think it's the kind of thing where mechanically very easy to play, but it's hard to get your mind into the right mindset to play it, because we saw yesterday when it was taken by
Xiaohu,
Xiaohu, he just started 1v1ing Faker a bunch once he got a couple of roaming kills, and it's like, no, dude, you got to keep roaming, and you can't settle into this fighting mid pattern. And having that kind of mindset is something that not everyone has. He is a great example of that. He's never been a mid-fighting-centric player, so Aurelion Sol's perfect for him. Kuro's the same way.
Yeah, and I think another great thing about these types of champions is that when it takes like 20+ games, like very easy to pick up, hard to master, but the mastery curve is so rewarding, and there's no other champion that you can really play that helps you play that champion. It's kind of awkward to say, but like Rumble, for the longest time, had the largest mastery curve where you suck with him when you start, but then you gain like 20% in terms of your wins because of the fact that no other champion teaches you how to play Rumble. He silences himself, he's mid-range mage, he's like charging at people and stuff like that, so you have to play that champion.
Flame Spitter tilts you, which is incredibly frustrating.
You can ruin your last hitting, you deny yourself.
Yeah, and Aurelion Sol is quite the same. Like, there's no other champion in the game that's really similar to him, so you don't come into Aurelion Sol like, I understand how this guy works and my distances and stuff. So you have to play it to know it, and there's only a finite amount of time when you're practicing that and Ryze and like all these other hard-to-pick-up champions.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And throughout the day, you can reach out on Twitter using the hashtag AskTheCasters. Make sure you do. Any sort of questions about hard-to-master champions, we would definitely like to know. We'll do our best to give you some awesome answers live during the series. Awesome average ones. Depends on the question, to be perfectly frank. But here we are, onto the game.
You get a bad answer, you ask a bad question. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just trying to give you guys some wiggle room here.
Thanks.
Rox are about to take on EDG for game number 1. Rox getting Pretty terrifying draft, to be perfectly frank. We'll see whether EDG can weather the storm. We'll be focusing towards the top side of the map with Smeb taking on Kuro. And Kuro, Rumble was, you know, it was always a champion in his wheelhouse, but it's just been a long time.
Yeah, and Jayce definitely has the advantage in this matchup, so it's going to be pretty hard for KORO1 to hang on here. I mean, I'm really nervous for him because he is in this kind of carry position. Rumble is one of the nicer ones to play in the sense where you can kind of be this defensive ult bot. If you start getting in trouble due to pressure, just ult the wave and recall. You have those kinds of options available to you, but it's definitely still a skill matchup or a carry matchup. So carry versus carry, once you start falling behind, it really gets ugly quick.
Yeah, and Smeb with a lot of control here towards the top side of the map. And now that the players are fanning out across the map, I am going to look to Twitter to grab our first question of the day. And Martin Brown comes in with a poignant one, asking, do you think Rox are going to target the top lane after EDG had to change?
Yes, I expect it, especially given the way this draft happened. They banned the Poppy away to get rid of his crutch. They take the Jayce, which is the most dominant laner available on the patch, and then they have Aurelion Sol and Lee Sin, who are a great tag team for just snowballing a side lane. And we see that Rox has chosen to go with 2 winning side lanes. So they don't need to go top, but they have such good tools to do so.
Yeah, I actually think that they will most likely go towards the top side of the map, considering that your bottom lane is going to be winning so hard by themselves. But like you said, it is the option to go towards that bottom side, bring Kuro down, do whatever it takes, because they'll be underneath turret most likely on EDG's side due to the shoving power of the Caitlyn and the Zyra combined. So it's a very viable option to go top.
Well, thankfully, we are the top lane focus stream, so we'll see whether they are going to head up here. Kuro's just trying to trade as well as he can. Smeb just throwing in cheeky auto attacks, seeing whether he can frustrate the veteran of the top lane for EDG. And of course, Kuro has stayed with the organization for this entire time. He was actually an advocate for the team, just doing promotional work, things like that. So has never left EDG. Let's see whether he's going to continue.
He's got that loyalty to the org.
Exactly, that's what it's about. Is right now he's going extraordinarily low.
Yeah, he tried to push in the first 2 waves to get an advantage. And
I think he's kind of screwed.
Yeah, he couldn't get it into turret, so he's in a really, really bad spot right now where he's going to start losing trades, as we already saw, and the wave never hit the turret and bounced back to him, so Smeb is basically in control to keep freezing it here if he wants to, and then you can start setting up ganks or just denial on CS.
There we are, minion died, so we managed to get some key harass onto Smeb here. Nailed it.
Interesting thing that's been going on with the junglers as well as ClearLove. His red camp got warded by Kuro, level 1. Ward just died there, so now EDG know that they have been spotted on that side. But also, Rox know that the path that Olaf took is actually putting him on the top side of the map, so Smeb does have to play a little bit more careful here. He'll probably place his ward down very shortly and try to get some vision to make sure he's not ganked.
Yep, Olaf being one of the few junglers who can start in the bot side pretty easily, and I think that might be a conscious decision by EDG to get ClearLove up to the top side early and start helping to stabilize any potential mismatch in the top side.
Yeah, you can see, thankfully, Kuro has been able to equalize this lane. It is going to be pushing back towards him now. As you can see, pings going down in the mid lane. ClearLove is otherwise occupied, and Kuro is going to have to keep holding on up here towards the top.
Yeah, Smeb warded and made sure that Olaf wasn't coming top, and it did look like ClearLove started to visit mid because Kuro traded very heavily with Scout to the point that Scout ran out of mana and Kuro almost ran out of health. It's very close.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Aurelion Sol, though, is you can basically trade however you want as long as you're not risking getting all in, and then you have the recall timing because you'll usually push the wave during the trade, and then you have your E to get back into the lane very quickly. So usually pretty safe to do so as the Aurelion Sol, but luckily Ryze gets his tier off his first back, so he's in an alright spot as well.
Yeah, importantly for EDG, they did manage to get the Rift Scuttler, so they do have some vision at least moving up that river, meaning that Kuro would have to use a different route in order to get up there if he was going to gank the Rumble.
Yeah, they actually saw him go towards the left, so they don't know if he's flying like up across the Baron pit right now towards Kuro, and that's why he's been playing a little bit more defensive, but the timing's already gone. So basically when you see the Aurelion Sol leave the map, you go like, all right, let's count 10 seconds. If he's not here, then I'm probably fine.
Yeah, and we see Peanut start coming into lane to potentially look for a lane gank, but I think Smeb is just saying, I'll push it in and recall. I think that's all they're looking to do here.
Yeah, they also saw ClearLove on the bottom side of the map, so Peanut knows that it wouldn't be something that got countered, but he's also like, ClearLove's level 5, I'm falling behind, I gotta get back on my camps, I gotta back, buy my items, start heading towards that bottom side, because if he ganks top and he doesn't get anything, ClearLove would probably get level 6 really quickly, and it's also the Drake is something that could be highly contested, especially since like the bottom lane hasn't been doing as well as you would think.
And we see that Smeb's going to get a really nice recall off here. He's shoved in this wave. Koro's going to have to stay to clear it, and then Smeb's going to... Oh, it looks like Smeb's staying as well, not actually backing off. Maybe faking a recall so that when KORO1 comes forward, he can get an all-in on him.
Yeah, this is actually really good.
Oh my goodness. Good ward from Koro.
Yep.
Mouse wouldn't have done that.
You have a little bit of fanboy in you for the KORO1?
I've always been a big KORO1 fan. His team fighting and teleport usage have always been very, very good. However, his lane phase was the first thing to go, unfortunately.
It's always the first thing to go, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a big joke in the Team Liquid house back when I was still working there. Peter Zhang was a big fan of KORO1 as well, and he loved the way he played Maokai. Just sit back in lane, throw those saplings out, farm with them, just hang out till mid-late game, then CC some people.
And Quas like that?
Not all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
never got to play Swain until later.
Is that exactly what Koro is expected to do here as well, is just survive in this lane?
Yeah.
And then, you know, he should still get to those mid-game spikes?
Yeah, I mean, you see him going arm guard first. He's obviously not going for any kind of offensive build. He's not going for the pen. He just wants to survive the lane phase. You see him blowing his ult to get an okay recall off. And he's just hoping to hang on here as best he can. And Rumble is not a tank in the sense that you need to hang on, or like you're always going to be useful, but he is still a very good champion for that because your ult is good for doing damage. It's not the same as being like, oh, I have a CC available all the time as a Poppy or a Maokai or a Nautilus or something. But as far as carries go, Rumble's the closest to fulfilling that role.
Well, you can see he's actually decided to take the Krug camp on his way towards the top side of the map. So Koro, yeah, this is most certainly a concede situation.
Yep. Here comes Peanut, though, towards the top side. Smeb TP'd so he could get a good position on the lane.
Ooh, yeah, Peanut, he's actually looking for it. Finds the kick, easy Q, and Koro's going to be taken down for first blood.
Oh,
difficult to avoid that one.
Yep.
But on the bottom side of the map, even more action. As now you can see EDG were looking for a kill. That's the double for Scout.
But they're really
But Aurelion
low.
Sol's about to come down, and if Kuro can turn it around, yeah, this is actually like this.
Oh god, he got exhausted.
Can he though?
If he can actually hit all of them.
Oh, Deft, one more. Oh, misses the Q.
Oh, yeah, that was like Aurelion Sol, like, give me the triple kill. Wait, how does Karma still have exhaust? It's like, guys, please.
Just to recap, that gank in the top side is really decisive because they knew that Koro's ult was still down, so they had no fear of getting turned 1v2, which is always kind of the scary thing when you go to gank the Rumble, and it was just so free because...
Oh no, Koro.
Well,
there's
Smeb,
a repeat gank coming up from Peanut as well. He's going to die
That's what I'm
here
talking
probably.
about.
He's got to flash away as soon as he sees Peanut.
Oh,
wait, nope.
The equalizer does come down. Peanut's in trouble. He is going to burn to death, and that is actually, you know, 1 for 1. I'll take that as a Koro fanboy.
Still feels bad, man, though.
Like, you're happy about it on the sense that you managed to trade 1 for 1, but you're not happy about it because he has not managed to CS basically over the course of a minute, and he's just going to keep falling further behind, and he had to burn his TP.
Yeah. I think that this is the kind of situation where the Jayce is now so far ahead that he'll just eventually get your turret by nature of being Jayce in this matchup.
That tower's already quite low as well, if we have a look at its health bar.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, he'll get it eventually. If it's first turret, then it's kind of worse for Smeb, or for Koro. But on the bottom side of the map, this is where Koro's going like, you know, I just died, and they didn't get anything back for it. All they got was some of Peanut's time, and usually the jungler's time, when that happens, is more of a... that flash was... Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing where if EDG was grabbing Dragon into Mountain Drake, you feel a little bit better about it. But here, it's just a free kill, and they don't lose anything for it. The one small upside is that the kills went onto Peanut as opposed to Smeb, but it's not... I mean, they're still happy about it as Rox. You can basically stop looking topside now. Jayce is in a position to snowball entirely on his own. Peanut will probably stop coming up here, I would expect, and start trying to win the bot lane for him because it's actually not going in Rox's favor at all. We see that Deft is up almost 10 CS already.
And that's actually a really cool thing to note. You were talking about where the junglers, it's important to get your top laner ahead, but then you need to know when to stop and just let him use that lead and then go to the bottom side of the map and start creating advantages elsewhere, because that one will just kind of grow on itself. And you can see like ClearLove is now playing towards that top side because there's a lot of threat onto Koro that, you know, maybe he gets solo killed by the Jayce. You have to get him some vision coverage just in case Peanut comes back up. And so it takes a lot of the enemy jungler's attention once you've already gotten your top laner ahead, so you can kind of go elsewhere and do whatever you want.
Yeah, Kuro was looking for a potential opportunity there in the jungle like you're talking about, but wasn't able to find it. And Peanut once again. This is just...
I think this is more Peanut reacting to EDG's pressure. They know that they were just up there. They have a lot of vision control on that top side. You see no vision by Rox on the top side of the map, basically past their own jungle. So this is a little bit of a safety play where not only can you help guarantee the turret, but you guarantee that no collapse comes from EDG. Because Ryze is also a very good roaming champion, and Olaf is, you know, he's just going to run down to Jayce and beat him up.
Yeah, that realm walk pretty handy. I do want to get to some questions on Twitter now that that tower has fallen down. Of course, that was the first blood for Rox, so ahead by quite a bit of gold. But first one comes in from Hoodwinker. How would the matchup look if Koro took Kennen instead of the Rumble into the Jayce?
So the Kennen Jayce matchup is actually really interesting. Jayce still wins it in my opinion, and especially when he gets Hexdrinker first, it's still very Jayce favored. But Kennen just has more teamfight impact and more impactful teleports on Kennen. So Jayce, it's kind of harder to get those, and you have to get a split push advantage. Kennen can go even, but you kind of get shoved in because your lack of wave clear.
And the other big thing is that it's a lot harder to just try to go even, whereas we saw times where Koro was just ulting the wave to get a good recall off. Kennen doesn't really have that option available. He can't just clear a wave and run away. And I think if you're looking at KORO1 as a potential weakness and trying to set him up to be safe, Kennen is a lot more of a snowball-y pick in the sense that if it starts falling behind, it really becomes useless because it needs items to function, whereas Rumble can kind of, like we were saying, just shoot his ult out from far away, not have to, like, oh, I don't have my Zhonya's, I'm just going to pop in a team fight because I'm behind. He doesn't have that kind of problem the way Kennen does.
Yeah, as long as you get experience on Rumble, your base damages are so high, just adding some penetration onto your base damages is very effective. But yeah, Kennen, very different. Once you get Proto Belt, it does get a little bit better, but you kind of have to go Seeker's Arm Guard into Proto Belt. So it's a long time, and Jayce can sometimes win the matchup by then.
Right, I mean, if you were just substituting Kennen into the Rumble position here, even though that's not really a fair thing to do, because it changes the whole game, but if you just were Kennen from this position, you'd be a lot more upset than if you were Rumble.
Yeah, well, very true.
Good news for Koro there. I do actually want to bring another question up here as well, because Tomato comes in with a very interesting one saying, do you think it's a coincidence that both of the meta top laners at the moment are non-mana users?
I think it's not too surprising. The fact that you can't afford to put like a heavy, like a Cassio in top lane generally is obviously...
I've seen it.
I've seen it too against TSM. But generally, you just can't afford to put high mana users in the top lane.
Oh, wow. Scout is actually looking for it. Rune Prison is going to go down there, looking to lock up Peanut. He takes a fair bit of damage. Good Stranglethorns. And there's the equalizer. Nicely placed there from Koro. Didn't use the flash, was thinking about it. It doesn't look like EDG can get much the back of that free dragon.
Shock blast from Jayce to disincentivize any kind of dive or chase coming through. Rox did a good job disengaging after that. Their comp's pretty good for that. The Zyra ult being able to slow anyone running after them. And, you know, they get the dragon, get out, and they're pretty happy with it.
Yep, and then they get TP advantage for Smeb, too. So, just another thing to add on there.
Luckily for EDG, Jayce is not that kind of, oh my god, there's a war behind me! But it's still really hard to force a play on the bot side now if you're thinking, oh, well, let's go down and fight Rox's bot lane. Now you have to worry about a TP coming in. So it just limits the options that EDG has, though it doesn't necessarily give a ton more to Rox.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before. Like, the Jayce teleports are not very impactful. Like, Kennen Rumble, definitely way more impactful or have the potential to be. A Jayce, yeah, not so much.
No, not the thing that you're looking for. However, we'll see what Smeb can do. Of course, has always been a linchpin for his team and certainly has been at Worlds. Oh, the cheeky super deep pink ward. Love it. Towards the top side of the map there for Rox. Yeah, that one.
It's going to TP there.
Devil.
End up behind him.
There's
and
the super sick flank opportunity for Smeb.
So we're talking about that TP Jayce. That's not going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
Damn it.
He'll use it at some point.
What we should have done is sold it as like super impactful.
I need you guys to keep your eye on that pink ward because at some point... No.
Smeb's going to be going for it.
Well, they actually do that a lot with things like Kennen. Like, Rox set up Smeb's teleport locations quite frequently. Like, it's always those deeper wards. It's quite great to watch. If you go back and watch a lot of their LCK games, it's like, man, Smeb got a beautiful teleport off. It's like, when was that ward placed? Who placed it? Who helped him out there? Who got that deep vision? And a lot of times it's Gorilla, sometimes Peanut, but Kuro can also do it when he's holding on to his ward in the mid lane. But that pink ward is, that's probably, who placed that? Is that Peanut?
I think it was probably Peanut.
We can go check.
He's going to delve back.
Just to touch on that ward a little bit, that's a good ward to TP2.
It's his own.
He
placed it. I missed that. I wasn't looking.
That's a good ward to TP2 on the red side as a top laner, because it can actually go between both the outer bottom turret and the inner bottom turret. So it's a really, really useful ward to have for the red side TP, but not as great for the blue side. So it's not a terrible ward for TPing to, but it's a little harder to if you know you're on the top side.
If they want to dive mid, he can TP there and then just go around. He just replaced it. He replaced it. It was an absolutely useless ward.
Now they'll never know that they knew exactly what was going on, and they can use it in game number 2. That's the level of mind game.
Holy.
That Smeb just bust out, boys.
It's actually interesting that he replaced it. It just wasn't providing the same amount of vision, or the vision that he wanted at the time.
Yeah, I think he's concerned about getting looped around on from behind. He's not as worried about a brute force gank coming in from in front of him as much as he is about someone coming from behind. He wants to push up. As you see, there's a lot of more attention on the bot side of the map. He's going to be alone, so he wants that ward to cover those kinds of paths. And I'm a little surprised the Aurelion Sol hasn't done anything this game. Basically been stuck mid. He's out of lane now, looking for a play bottom, but this is the first one. Smeb's in a TP position, waiting for an opportunity to join this potential dive.
They're warding in the middle? No.
Actually, he's not going to be able to get much done.
Yep.
Wave cleared out.
Cruising through.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Smeb going to head back towards the top side of the map, catch that wave that was building. And Kuro now with his teleport just about to be off cooldown. And Leandri's Torment in his back pocket. I mean, that is going to be a pretty big deal equalizer if he manages to land it in the right spot. And that last one that we saw from Kuro shows that his eye was certainly in. The team fighting skill is one that he hasn't lost. Like riding a bike. Zirene and Mark, that's what it's about.
You're good at team fighting?
Absolutely.
Speaking from experience?
No, I'm good at riding a bike.
Okay. That was actually pretty good by Rox. I mean, even though they didn't get anything out of it, that's the kind of stuff you like seeing out of a team, where they're not just sitting on their TP advantage, getting nothing done or getting controlled. That play easily could have broke out in their favor if EDG wasn't on their way down to cover it. So I actually really am happy to see that out of Rox, that they are proactive, even if the play doesn't come out, that they're constantly looking for them. And we see the dive.
Speaking of the play, there's the flash out from Kuro. Just going to clear out the wave with the equalizer. Probably could have tried to go for some sort of kill, but no. The dive's going to come in. Smeb easily picks that one up with the help of Kuro.
Yep. 2, possibly 3-man dive if Peanut were able to get there. And what's the rest of the team doing? Having their back timers. And Karma's roaming around trying to get wards. They don't get anything off of that.
This is one of the powers of Aurelion Sol that we don't, I don't think, touch on enough, is not only was he roaming bottom to make a play and potentially do something there, but he gets elsewhere on the map so quickly. So he can reset, start roaming topside right after while the other team is resetting as well. He just kind of gets that tempo advantage very easily for himself and obviously for his team as well. If you force a play on the bot side, everyone recalls, and then he's, you know, just running top with his E on the whole time. He's going to get to plays way before the rest of the team can react to it.
It's kind of broken.
Yeah. It's a little much. Definitely a little much.
And now has his Giant Spell completed as well, so going for that second item, Ryze Crystal Scepter, not going for any sort of, I guess, Banshee's Veil or something like that we've been seeing as an item number 2.
Yeah. A lot of the times you'll see it second. I actually think that the Ryze Crystal Scepter is even better. It's basically every item he builds is going to have HP on it. He just needs durability. Banshee's Veil, you would think, is really good in this because it's up against a double AP comp, and everybody else on the team has pretty much been like, all right, Hex Drinker. Even Peanut went Hex Drinker before he got his Aegis.
Oh my goodness, Gorilla going to flash away at the last second. ClearLove's looking for it, doesn't go for the last auto as the teleport's coming down from Kuro. In comes Kuro though, as Peanut looking for it. There's the Voice of Light, but doesn't actually land onto Scout. He's running away. Kuro does have the ultimate now just off cooldown. And there it is. Peanut going to take the majority of the damage, but it could have been in a better spot. Peanut flashes out. My God, the Rox Tigers are so incredibly low. And Deft at about half health wants to find the autos, but cannot get in there at all.
That was so close to being good for EDG. They started the playoff. Even though Rox was anticipating it, they weren't quite in position yet, so they got a ton of free damage on the Gorilla, but they couldn't quite finish him off. And then Rox was, of course, there to kind of counter the play with only 1 kill, as both teams obviously played that extremely well.
Yep, now they're just trying to keep going through. Peanut.
Oh, Peanut looked for the cube, but didn't find it, as there's ClearLove. Oh, actually, the flash came out from Smeb. A lot of damage comes in. Rox still taking it, but they are going to be able to kill the jungler. Stun comes out, double kill for Kuro, as Smeb He may actually fall to this turret. Q not going to land, and that tower shot was a little bit laggy.
Yep, it was so close to actually going off there. Very, very close. And now they're going to get another turret for it. And you can see just Rox doing so much on this map. Every time they get the opportunity to do so, they're actually just pushing these mid-game team fights. It's been their specialty for a very long time.
Yeah, that was just stunning. And the use of aggro control, making sure that they went down as low as they could before getting out. I mean, some of it has to be luck, doesn't it?
No, actually, I think a lot of people are just very, very good at knowing the timing on the turret shots and things like that. You can see some crazy dives, especially you know, in Korea and China. They're really good at timing all this stuff. But I just want to point out how close this was to going well for EDG. They play all this super, super cleanly, and if they had gotten the kill onto Gorilla, they might have been able to actually turn this back. But he gets a couple of big roots off here. He gets one onto Kuro that holds him in place to just get blown up, and they couldn't actually finish a kill off because they are just slightly behind the game prior to this.
That equalizer, I actually think, could have been better. You see where that ward is right there next to the wall, where Prey is? If you diagonal that up towards your turret, they have to get pinched in there. Like, those are the best equalizers, in my opinion, are the ones that pinch the person between the wall or have to walk all the way through the equalizer. One straight down doesn't really work too well, but it could have been a little bit better. That may have gotten a kill on Gorilla. But so far, nope.
Yeah, and Rox just being able to push their advantage. They knew that they didn't have to back off, going not just for that one turret, but seeing if EDG is sticking around, which they were, and punishing for that.
And it's crazy too, like they all seem to be on the same page. Gorilla got chunked out, Prey got chunked out, and it's like, no, we're still moving forward. A lot of us still have HP. They aren't backing, which is very ballsy, but they still know the limits.
Yeah, and it's now 6,000 gold, the lead. They got the inner turret on the bottom side of the map. We saw that one fall down, then followed it up immediately with that outer turret in the mid lane. Rox are just snowballing this one out of control. 4-0 is that turret score that we were talking about. And at 22 minutes, 6K, that is huge. EDG had a decent start too. I mean, that bottom side was doing well. It was a lead for Deft, but now that is being closed by Prey. He's got his 2 items.
Yeah, they have some tools to be able to stop this. We see that Rox is kind of starting up a 1-3-1. If any of them overextend just a little bit, maybe you can pick them off. Jayce is a good target for that. He's probably the least tanky member that you're going to get, aside for obviously Gorilla, but he should be with someone at all times. So you're hoping maybe you can TP a Ryze in behind the Jayce or something and get a kill and hopefully not give up a Baron during that time. But it's better than some team comps where they just don't have any playmaking potential from behind. EDG have some.
Well, I do have another Twitter question that we can go to. Alligator86 comes in with, should Rox try to use Zyra's ult as an engage or a disengage tool against EDG's composition?
I think it's much better as a disengage. EDG are relatively short range. Like obviously Ezreal isn't, but Ryze is pretty short range, as well as the Rumble if he wants to do anything other than ultimate, and Olaf as well. So the Olaf can always run through it, but you can just put it behind him, and then the rest of the team can't join the fight. So it should usually be used for disengage, but if you're trying to pick somebody off in chain CC, of course you can drop it.
Yeah, I think the 2 best ways to use it are when the Olaf runs in with Ragnarok to try and get to your backline, you don't ulti him, you ulti the enemy and try to section them off or at least buy time for you to kill the Olaf without anybody helping on the enemy team. Or when Ryze ultis, you put it down on that, or you just throw the roots through and then you follow up with it. So the Ryze ulti against a Zyra is actually pretty painful.
Pretty good for baiting out a potential ultimate though.
Yeah, but usually you just send the E with the travel time and it'll root them right up and then you can ulti right after if you want to keep them there.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect ulti every time. I don't think they can even flash out in time at that point if it's right in the center and you rooted them.
Well, KORO going to get the first turret here for EDG on the bottom side of the map. Smeb looking to try and punish him for it.
Yep. This is going to be really rough. Zyra's coming up as well. Gorilla is not going to take the side route.
Yeah, Flash is going to come out, and that means Smeb is going to let KORO go just this once.
I think that was actually pretty good for EDG. Rox had grouped up mid to try and siege that inner turret, but we're struggling to get much done, and they weren't. It didn't seem like their heart was in it, and EDG in the meantime just pushed out bot lane and got a turret. It's nice to be able to get a little bit of gold for your team. Obviously, it's not going to swing the game back, but any little bit helps. Yeah, and the CS actually going back in favor of Scout in that mid lane as well, just because it was having that farm just shoved into him one after the other. Pretty handy stuff here. As far as CS is concerned, everything actually evens out. You know, Smeb's lead is about the same as Scout's lead. However, those turrets are going to be a big deal. The extra kills on the side of Rox really demonstrating their prowess. And this was not when they were supposed to be strong. They haven't been all that powerful in the early game so far this tournament, but this game, a very different story. A lot of it, I feel, has to do with Peanut, the fact that he snowballed Smeb
quite early in this matchup, and the Lee Sin's looking very good.
Yeah, it was the winning top lane, the winning matchup for yourself. The winning bottom lane as well was actually causing some pressure. They didn't have as large of a lead as you would think, but Peanut coming top, this is kind of the new thing for junglers. Well, actually, it's been like kind of a rule for jungling, is don't camp your losing lane. You go to your winning lane to push it even further. But now on like 6:15 onward, it's like even more important. Get that first turret, get that gold, push through that winning lane. It's kind of like the dagger's already in, you just have to twist it, and the jungler is the one who does it.
Yeah. Well, they were able to take down that inner turret pretty easily here on the side of Rox. Now able to free up a whole lot of that Baron space. You can see all of the vision that they have down already. And Zyra adds a lot of damage to that Baron at the same time.
We were talking about how Rox had a little bit of a weak early game during their group stage. The fact that you see them with a strong early game now, as well as having that explosive mid game, it shows why they were such favorites coming into this tournament, because I think this is the form we were expecting to see out of them, where they're very adaptable in where they go on the map and exactly how to pressure. That was one of the things I loved watching them, was that they always knew how to play their comp well.
Yeah.
So I think I'm personally excited to see them kind of more back on track, I guess.
Yeah. I don't like saying like sandbagging, but I think they were screwing around in those first few games. Like they're just laughing the entire time as they're feeding. It's like, oh, we still won though, boys. We still won. Like Peanut gets caught in the jungle. He gets like Kuro killed against ANX, and they're just like they're laughing their asses off. It's like Kuro's probably like, screw you, Peanut. And it's like,
yeah.
Still, they're actually just, they seem to have a really good time. And then those last two games that they played, the tiebreaker as well, like they crushed. It was like, okay, stop messing around, guys. It's World Championships. Get back on track, and it hasn't stopped in this game.
Yeah, they always had the kind of free spirit about them when they had those ridiculous uniforms in 2015. all those crazy things. You could tell that
I miss them.
Yeah, they're always like a little looser of a team. So I could see definitely a situation where they come to America, they're excited to be in this tournament, they're having fun,
put on a show,
and they're confident that they're not going to get knocked out in groups, even though it got a little close and they really had to try. I think you saw that once they realized, or not realized the severity of it, but were forced to have to win that game as opposed to, we have a couple games. I think you saw a different Rox coming out.
Yeah, it's definitely speculation, but it didn't look like they were trying as hard as they could.
Well, Trisha Barrage not going to be able to take down that Mountain Drake, and that is going to be second Dragon falling for Rox. EDG were able to sneak a cheeky Cloud Drake, but double Mountain Drake is a big deal. We saw it yesterday be quite effective in game number 1, SKT versus RNG. Because the Baron buff just tends to melt.
Yeah, it's also a siege composition. It's one of the best buffs to have for yourself, too.
Yeah, it's going to get smacked back. There's the flash traded. Voice of Light comes in, good slow as Smeb looking for the autos. Oh my goodness, the Super Soaker from Koro, but will he get snared as Smeb trapped on the equalizer, and he's going to fall down. EDG turn it right in its head.
Yep, a little bit of an overextension there by Rox. They managed to force out a couple summoners, but they missed the initial shock blast that started out and a couple other things, and they just didn't have the patience to just back off afterwards. They wanted that kill.
They really did.
Nice knockback into Kuro, and then the chase down, but the Ghost is going to get him out with Karma as well. And here's where you need to turn around.
Yeah,
that flash in is the exact moment where they're like, oops, too far.
Yeah, a little bit too far. Luckily, it's not 2 members for Rox, but EDG, happy that they get a turnaround there, and they get a lot of summoners for it, too.
Yeah, not much on the map, though. The Dragon was already taken down. Nothing for EDG to grab as we see Peanut soloing out KORO1 here.
Now he's just being mean.
Yep, cheeky kick flash comes in. As there's an Aurelion Sol due to be up here, but in comes Meiko. Oh my god, Scout! That Realm Warp was not the one that you wanted! That is a definite dangerous journey that he took towards the top side as Deft is trying to get some pot shots in.
I want to see that again. I want to see what happened on the opening of the Realm Warp.
We'll need to
through.
zoom in on the champions' faces as they make that decision.
Ah, God, they have no vision on the top side of the map. It's really not safe to try and collapse and protect KORO1 in such an extended position. They had no idea that the rest of Rox was already collapsing in. So once that Ryze ultimate finishes, it's like, oops, we're in the middle of the enemy team.
Yep. So he's going to ulti through with Meiko. Doesn't get ClearLove. Runs straight through. Oh, both against the wall. Here comes the E, into the ulti, into the knockup, into the E, into the stun again.
That was an incredible route from Gorilla as well.
Yeah, it's like, you run single file towards him, that's exactly what's going to happen. Root lasts so long that you don't have Merc Threads, you're going to get knocked up by the ultimate.
You're going to have a bad time.
You're going to have a bad time.
The nice thing about Zyra is you actually don't even need to be able to hit skill shots. Just throw some plants down there, and then
that's why I play her so often.
You got the slows down. You don't need to hit the root. Just drop your ult as well. It's a giant area.
Get a Ryze, you never need to use your E button again. You slow people by pressing your Q.
I hate Zyra. I'm actually really, like the meta right now, Like, I hate playing on live. It's like Nunu and Zyra. It's like, get out of my games, guys. You're two of the most annoying champions in the game.
And incredibly easy to play.
Yeah, very true, very true. You just have to join them. You can't beat them.
I'm sorry for joining the balanced team, guys. that was my fault.
Yeah, Zyra incredibly oppressive in lane. I mean, I've seen people play her top like full tank and she still wins the game because she's so annoying.
I did that once, yeah.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
Deft lands a few Qs onto Smeb. Does have his 3 items at least, and EDG's base still stands, but they've lost 6 of their turrets. And they've only managed to take 1. 11-4 now the kill score. 10,000 gold the lead and a Baron buff to boot on this Rox Tigers team. Peanut looking for a way in. We'll see whether he can kick someone out. As there's the equalizer. In fact, EDG want to find a fight, but it's just going to soften up Rox and deter them from sieging any further.
Yeah, I don't like that. I feel like you need the equalizer to hit for damage. You're so far behind. You don't have the ability to win a team fight if you're blowing one of your key ultimates in a pokey fashion, because now they're just going to sit back in front of your turret, and you really don't have any damage threat now like you would have with the Rumble.
Yeah. It's also very difficult for this EDG team to actually set up a good equalizer. They don't really have any ways to keep people in place so that it comes down.
Another double stun. In goes Kuro once again as Deft able to get some decent damage off to the side.
Right. If you had equalizer there,
that would have been disgusting, yeah.
Like, Kuro can't walk that far forward. Like, the reason he walks that far forward is because they don't have equalizer.
Right, he doesn't have to be scared of anything, but maybe a Ryze route is the most threatening thing.
Saw Deft actually standing to the side throughout that whole thing as well, actually able to get a fair bit of damage onto Rox. Smeb needs to be trying to get a little bit more of this poke to try and soften EDG, get them out of the way.
Peanut once again pretending he's the top laner. Saw him start that other fight.
Reminds me of MLXG yesterday. Spent most of his time just farming outside lanes in the later stages of the game. But Rox once again going to push through.
Ooh, the Super Galaxy!
Whoa, that's a big one as Deft gets himself out of there. Peanut looks for the kick, but actually doesn't find it. He's going to get snared up. Fair bit of damage already taken as they're looking for the inhibitor. Arcane Shift goes across. Good equalizer from Koro. Oh no, not able to quite land it as he's going to get punished by Gorilla. Now 4 versus 5. Rox are pushing into the base. Peanut is still just flirting with danger off to the back end as Deft getting some pot shots once again. And Rox just take the inhibitor and leave. This is so clean from this team.
Yeah. Remember when I said that Rumble has one of the steepest mastery curves? It's because very effective ultimates completely change the fight, whereas ones that aren't effective, you actually use a lot of his power budget in these later game team fights. Like, I don't think it was actually that great of an ultimate there.
No, it didn't quite work. Thought Peanut might have actually died, you know?
Yeah, he kind of went for 2 things at once. He wanted to finish off Peanut and kind of box Kuro in, but he didn't do either, where there was still a gap out of it. So that's one of the hard parts about Rumble is you always want that perfect ultimate that does everything. It zones, it does damage, and there he got neither.
Yeah, and he knew that Peanut had already used W, so yeah, you got to use a lot to get away, because once Aurelion Sol hits you once...
Oh, the Seraph's Embrace, can he get the... No, he can't.
I'm glad you cut it off.
I love this so much. But one of my favorite calls is the one where Freak asks a question and then he's like, no, false.
Like, answers himself.
Answers himself with the false.
Yeah.
It's like, and he's going to live? False. He dies. It's like, all right.
I didn't have a chance to answer.
Well, he was certainly dead. That was a boot to the face.
I think just kind of looking back over this game, I think Koro actually did okay. I mean, he's obviously feeding when you look at the scores.
Yeah.
But obviously, he misplayed the early laning phase, I think, trying to get the push on and then failing to actually get it into turret or anything.
All right, so let's pretend I'm Reddit for a second.
Okay.
Hi, Reddit. How are you? KORO1 sucks. He's feeding all game. He's the reason they lose. What's the blame game?
I would say kind of. Because I mean, you saw that team fight. He's not like playing great. There's no way you can say like, man, Koro, he almost carried this game or anything like that. But he was super disadvantaged where he's in a losing matchup. The other team has Aurelion Sol and the Lee Sin, and then they did put a coordinated effort into killing him while his team was making plays on the flip side of the map. So I think if you look at it from that perspective, it wasn't as bad as the initial scoreline might make you think. But then when you see some of his team fighting later, he's not hitting some of the critical ultimates. So that one's
actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, not too bad. Koro is going to die for it though. and no one on the side of Rox is going to fall. True Shot Barrage hits a whole bunch of different people.
Just when we start complimenting him, he misses that Zhonya's button.
Ah, yes.
Isn't there like a...
No, he must have just bought that in the Death Chamber.
He bought it in the Death Chamber? Are you certain?
So,
No, I'm definitely sure that he already had it. I
less
promise you.
than 10% of players actually use their activatable items in
Thank
combat.
yeah.
I had that
I think I've
conversation
recently
back-
seen that statistic.
It was back on a playtest team where we saw that. It was the whole Muramana conversation where it's like, why are you taking this away? Why are you taking away the activatable item with the Muramana? It's like, people just click it on, and
I'm
then
not going to lie to
they
you,
leave it on.
I never used it, really.
Yeah. And some people forgot to activate it, but it's like, you leave it on, and that's it. Or like, you start CSing, you have to like, turn it off. So now, we just solved it, we made it so that it's just much easier to use. You don't have to think about it. So yeah, you're welcome. Half of you who more than half of you who never even used it, but
We had a long conversation about that, and in the meantime, Rox actually won game 1
with
against
using their
EDG.
activatable items.
Yeah, using activatable items. EDG, unfortunately, not going to use as many of them. There was one question that we had on Twitter that was so important to me, stuck out in my mind so much, that I feel like we should read out before game number 2, and that is, what the heck does beat Jayce in lane? And it came in from Jesse.
It doesn't lose to really anything unless you start looking at really off-meta picks. But that's why people are playing it so much and why you see such an emphasis on it, even though you might think, oh, it's losing a bunch of games when you see some like NA teams play it. The reality is it doesn't lose any matchups, really, and it has great scaling throughout the game, even though it's a lane bully. And the biggest problem with this with it is that it compromises your comp a little bit. And if you're able to play around that, it's a monstrous pick. So you kind of have to deal with it either through taking that Poppy, which was banned intelligently by Rox, and just trying to wait out the game. And if the Poppy gets ahead, then you're not scared of the Jayce anymore. Or you pick another carry matchup that tries to go even and then impacts the game as well.
Yeah. Like you said, there's some off-meta picks. Like if you're picking something, I think like Aurelion is okay, but like laning phase, you still get destroyed. So it's like he has the tools to win almost any matchup pre-6. And usually you'll see professional Jayces do that and push the advantage.
So is it time to bring out something like Renekton or Darius? You know, the classic like 1v1 me bro champions?
No, definitely not. I think what you have to look at is maybe a Jayce ban, unless you think KORO1 can play it, because I think otherwise Rox just keeps running the Jayce pick. And you can try and limit some other things too, like the Aurelion Sol. Some picks are going to snowball that topside matchup, but I don't think you can trust Kuro to go through it.
Luckily, EDG for next game for them, they get side selection. It's most likely blue, because I feel like there's a lot of kind of mandatory red side bans, like the Nidalee. The Syndra should also be there, but we're seeing a lot of blue side Syndra bans. A little confusing, but still.
Well, we'll see how it works. But up next, we'll welcome Matt to the cast for a jungle-focused look at game number 2. And until then, we'll send you back to the mainstream for Dash and the Analyst Desk live in Chicago.